Leave it to our boy James to ignore all the actual questionable things that Leon Valley did and instead focus on the entirely legal and lawful things that they are doing. There's an extortion letter, he claims. They're trying to return his personal property. They are notifying him that they have his personal property, and they've had it in their possession for weeks now, maybe a month. I don't remember exactly when the whole Leon Valley thing came to be. It seems like everything blurs together, but they've had it in their possession for some time. He left without his firearm because I don't know, he was making a statement or something. But they've had it in their possession. They have been storing it for him because he chose to not get it for whatever reason. So yes, if somebody is doing you the service of storing your property and protecting it, it is in their care, control, and custody. So they do owe him, Mr. Freeman, a duty to keep the property safe. God, that's a crazy look he's got on his face right there. I did not intend that. Anyway, yeah, so them requiring you to pay to get your property out is not extortion. Extortion is, I have links to it. Extortion is 31.03. It's just general theft. The police did not have the intent to deprive Mr. Freeman of his property forever or for such a long period that it would effectively interfere with his rights to own and possess and control his property. For example, let's just do some thought experiments. If, let's say you go to a restaurant and they have a coat rack at the restaurant, just not something that they're manning, it's just something that you could put your coat on, right? You put your coat on the coat rack, you go, you have dinner. Lovely dinner. You enjoy it. You go get your coat. You walk out, you get in your car and you're driving away and your coat feels a little tight. It's kind of weird. So you stop and you go to adjust your coat and you realize there's something in the pocket and then you realize it's somebody else's coat and you're like, oh man, have you committed theft? You put the coat on intending to walk out the door with it. You intended to wear that coat out. You intended to do everything. But no, you haven't committed theft. At least not under any state theft laws I'm aware of. Because you didn't intend to deprive the owner. You made an honest mistake. You thought you were taking your coat. Accidentally, you took someone else. You had no intent to deprive the owner of their coat. Let's say then, let's continue on with this. You have taken someone else's coat and you've walked out the door. The waiter or waitress, let's say the waitress. I like waitresses better than waiters. I know, I'm sexist. Sees that you've left and sees your coat still on the rack and takes your coat and places it behind the counter. Has the waitress committed theft? In order to be able to answer that question, we'd have to kind of determine the intent of the waitress. Is she putting it behind the counter for safekeeping to make sure it's still going to be there, safe for you when you return and ask for it? Or is she putting it behind the counter to secret it away from you so that you don't have the ability to retrieve your goods? Once you can answer that question, then you can determine whether or not the waitress has committed theft. Theft depends on the intent of the person taking the property. If you, let's say you know your neighbors really well, and let's say that you borrow you have kind of like a standing agreement with them that you could go over and borrow their lawnmower. They have a vested interest in you keeping your lawn looking good because that keeps the property values in the neighborhood up, thus benefiting them. And you have a vested interest in borrowing their lawnmower because you're a cheap ass. It all works. Both parties profit from it. So one beautiful Saturday morning, you go over to your neighbors and you grab their lawnmower. You don't ask anybody because you've been doing this for years. And a cop sees you walk over and grab this lawnmower out of their backyard or something and sees you come out with it. Can he arrest you for theft? Well, can he arrest you for theft is different. Have you committed theft? You've taken something that's not yours to go mow your lawn with it. Have you committed theft? The answer is probably no. And it's not because you have some understanding with the owner. It's because you don't intend to keep it. You're going to mow your lawn with it and then you're going to return it. It's probably not theft. Anyway, so with that understanding in mind, the letter is not an extortion letter. They are requiring some form of payment because they have provided you with a service, whether you wish to acknowledge it or not. They have protected your firearm for the last, couple weeks, maybe a month, however long it's been. They did not steal your firearm again. They're not trying to sell stolen merchandise. The merchandise at this point is considered abandoned. If you don't seek to get your property back, they are going to consider it abandoned. They have no duty to keep your property stored in their lockup forever. That's kind of a statist idea if you think that they are bound by some sort of obligation to store your personal property at no expense forever. They are under an obligation to inform you that they have your property, allow you the opportunity to claim your property, and pay for any reasonable storage fees. And I think $25 is probably a reasonable storage fee. They didn't steal your vehicle. Again, they moved it to a impound lot of some sort. Goes back to their intent. I don't know exactly why they took the vehicle. Again, it could be something to do with incident to arrest. It could be something to do with the owner of the private property it was parked on, didn't want it left there overnight. I don't know exactly why. You don't know exactly why. So because you don't know, it's very improper for you to say theft in the first place. But it's fairly obvious that their intent was not to keep it, to permanently deprive you of it. So it's not theft. He says it was an unlawful search. I assume he means something along the lines of trespass. Trespass would be 30.05. Do they have effective consent? I don't know. Did they put their whole body inside of it? I don't know. But it's fairly well established that the police can do an inventory search of assets that are impounded. It's part of the community caretaking function. They get to make sure that there aren't any bombs or poison gas or guns left in the property that can be stolen and go missing, etc. Because they have a general duty to protect your property. If it's in their care, if they're control, custody, and care, then they have an affirmative duty to protect your property. And you could, if the gun actually was stolen out of the vehicle, you may be able to sue them for some sort of a negligence action. I've literally had a case in the very short time I've been practicing where that issue came up. Somebody had their car impounded by the police. They had goods stolen from the car while it was in an impound yard, and I got to write a demand letter demanding that it was actually addressed to the company the tow company that owned the impound yard. I got to write a demand letter demanding that they compensate our client for it. The client didn't have the money to continue anything after that. So, what are you going to do? So anyway, could he have won? It's possible. There were a lot of issues with because he was claiming, he was doing a padilla. He was claiming there was like $10,000 worth of electronic items and things like that in the vehicle. But the vehicle was impounded because he was arrested for shoplifting. So, Was there $10,000 worth of electronics in it? Maybe, or it could have been evidence. I don't know. You tell me. So, money laundering. Money laundering is 34.02 of the Texas Penal Code. You have to acquire or maintain an interest in, conceals, possesses, transfers, or transports the proceeds of criminal activity. Again, we haven't established any criminal activity, so that's going to be a huge issue. All of them involve criminal activity. There has to be criminal activity involved in order for there to be money laundering. So you're going to have to prove that, and you haven't. So I don't think money laundering is going to come into play. There is also a federal money laundering statute. I didn't bother to look it up, but if you really think that there's something there, right, contact the feds, man. Get them involved. I think that covers all of them. There was the general theft statute. Selling stolen merchandise is also covered under the general theft statute. They've combined basically everything into this one theft statute. So consolidation of theft offenses. Theft is defined in 31.03 constitutes a single offense superseding the separate offenses previously known as theft by a false pretext, conversion by a bailee, theft from the person, shoplifting, acquisition of property by threat, swindling by worthless check, embezzlement, extortion, receiving or concealing embezzled property, and receiving or concealing stolen property. So it's all rolled up into 31.03. We talked about money laundering. Oh yeah, kidnapping. He thinks he's been kidnapped. He has not, of course, been kidnapped. So arrest is different than kidnapping. There's justification for arrest in Chapter 9, justification excluding criminal responsibility. So yeah, you're not going to get too far with kidnapping, even if you were found, even if the magistrate determines that there was not probable cause to support the arrest. That doesn't mean that you were kidnapped. It doesn't change anything. If it would be unreasonable to try to make the police walk that fine of a tightrope, where every time the magistrate disagreed with their determination of probable cause, all of a sudden they're liable for kidnapping charges. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I do appreciate the impassioned speech at the end about how the people are rising up. I gave it some time. I didn't jump on it yesterday. But I don't think the people are rising up quite as hard and fast as you think they are, James. Again, you're incredibly small potatoes. I know with your 32,000 subs, you're thinking you're big time. That is 0.01? No, 0.0. So 3.2 million would be 1%. 320,000 would be 0.1%. 32,000 would be 0.01% of the U.S. subscribes to you. That obviously doesn't mean that that same amount agrees with you. And I don't know if you saw the protest at Leon Valley, but I don't think you have quite the outpouring of support that you think you do from the general population. Anyway, I guess that was kind of stupid, but thanks for watching. Have a great day.